Hey everyone, Michael here from Night Noon Games, and I'm getting ready to run a Shadowdark one-shot for a bunch of friends and my brother, who's never played D&D or any role-playing game before. We're planning to run this next week, and I don't want to put a ton of prep into it, so what I'm going to do is adapt an existing one-shot from Nate Treme, who I'm a really big fan of, and you might also know as Highland Parnormal Society. He's got a great Patreon, which gets you access to all of his games, and I would highly recommend it. Of course, I have a link down in the notes below this video, if you want to check that out. The one-shot I'll be adapting for the Shadowdark rule set is called The Primeval Holt of the Elk Lord. This one's a lot of fun, it's a little silly, and I've tried running it once before using 5e, but it just felt a little bit too cumbersome, and it felt a little bit too crunchy for what this adventure is, which is supposed to be a little bit light, and I think it's going to be a great way to introduce my brother to D&D. Now, this adventure was originally developed to run off of Nate's game Wander, which you can see over here. It's actually a business card RPG, so all of the rules are on one business card, and Nate makes a lot of stuff like this, a lot of just like simple adventures, a lot of simple rule sets that are really fun to hop in and out of and play. But, as you probably know, I'm really big into Shadowdark right now. I love the rule set, and I really want to kind of adapt this and see how it works in Shadowdark. So I have a copy of Mike Shea's Notion planning template that I'm going to use over here. There's a link to Mike's work down below this video as well. You might know him as the Lazy Dungeon Master or Sly Flourish, and he just has so much stuff that he offers this community, and this Notion planning template is one of those things. I already titled it, but I think I'm going to change some of these graphics a little bit. Sure, I think that looks pretty good. And I'll keep this little guy here as the icon, at least for now. So what I'm going to first do is kind of familiarize myself with this adventure. I've read it before, and like I said, I've tried to play it before, but it was a while ago. The Forest of Grimholt is one of the oldest in the world. It's ruled by Zepek, the Elk Lord, an antediluvian godling. Few have heard of the Grimholt except for in the whispered tales of arcane secrets and wicked creatures left over from a darker age. This all takes place in the Sleepless Forest. Trees here do not need rest, as in other woods. They seem to rearrange themselves when no one is watching. So, if you don't want to get lost, you're going to want to pass a wisdom test. So when we're running this, I'll probably set that wisdom test to like a 10 or something, and have someone be sort of the navigator when they're traveling through the forest. That might change. Probably whoever is like leading their marching order when they do. Of course, there's going to be reasons that they come to Grimholt, and I'll have everyone roll a d6 to determine those reasons. The village of Braniv, an isolated village that harvests wood and rubber from the forest. The villagers are friendly, but they secretly practice an old religion and perform human sacrifices to the Elk Lord at the Elkstone, which is position number 3. So here's the village, and here's the Elkstone. The villagers much prefer using strangers for the sacrifice and will conspire against any poor souls who make the mistake of visiting Braniv. Well, our adventurers are going to Braniv, so I think that might spell trouble for them. Here are the NPCs of note, and as I read through these, I'm going to add them to the NPC section of the Lazy RPG campaign planner. Brico, she, her, and then medium. And in Wander, there's just sort of 3 levels of enemies, easy, medium, and hard. Since this is going to be a first level adventure, I'll probably put a medium boss at, maybe make him level 3, and then a hard boss probably at level 5, since that's going to be pretty tough for even a group of 5 or 6 adventurers like we're going to have playing. So I'll find some stats and add them as I go. So Brico, she, her, villain, and then current. That makes it so everything's sort of added correctly. And I can just copy and paste all this information in there. So Brico, the de facto leader of Braniv, she delivers most of the villagers and has been an old woman as long as anyone remembers. She knows these 3 spells, Toad, Sprout, and Sad Tom's Cloud. She conducts sacrifices at the Elkstone. So these spells are at the bottom of this 4-page PDF. It's very tight. Since these spells aren't spells that you might commonly see in Shadowdark or whatever, I'm just going to port them straight over, because I think they can still be used as is. And then, of course, we're going to have to find the stats for her as well. So I'm going to go into the Quick Monster Reference Guide, which I think is pretty sweet. And this was made by Matt Dietrich, and I found it over on the Shadowdark Discord. So what Matt's done here is essentially developed a way that you could just find stats on the fly really quickly if you're in the middle of a game. So like I said, this person is going to be a level 3, AC 13, HP 14, 2 attacks, and I'll probably make that 2 attacks or 1 spell. And then here are their stat modifiers. And they have some other like breakdowns too of like what their individual stats might be, depending on what kind of category the person is. So this person would probably just be a humanoid, and they're going to be intelligent, so they're going to have stats similar to an Archmage, I think. So we'll go back to Brico. We'll say AC is going to be 13. HP 14, and again, I'm just getting this right off the Quick Monster Guide. And because of the way Shadowdark works, I'm going to have to make some DCs for this. So I think to avoid becoming a toad for 4 hours, the effect DC for level 3 is going to be 12. That's going to be Con. I guess this is going to be another DC 12 Con. And then Sad's Tom Cloud. Since it's not going to have any real mechanical downside for the player, I'm going to make this a higher Con because, you know what? I'm not even going to do that. This one's just going to happen. It's just going to happen, and it's going to follow this person around for 1d4 years until the curse is dispelled. I don't think there's any way they can avoid that. It's just a spell that adds a ton of flavor, so I'm just going to have it happen. No roll needed. And then, of course, as I mentioned, they are going to be an intelligent being. So essentially their strength, dex, and con is going to be +0. And then their intelligence +4. Wisdom +2. And then their charisma +1. So there we go. I think we have a pretty solid medium character here that is going to be a lot of fun to fight and has some fun spells. So we're all set there. I'm also realizing that I should probably create these locations as we go too, since there's a location section in the template. So I'm going to go to locations. And these ones that are already here are just default examples that Mike includes with the template, so you kind of know how to put it together. So I'm just going to add one right here. This is going to be the village. This is current and isolated. We already talked about that. And then we're back to the NPCs of note. Corrit, she, her, medium. Head of the woodcutters. A hulking brute whose double hand axes can fell a tree in minutes and a person much quicker. She's an enforcer and friend of Brico and something of a peacekeeper for the village. Quick to shut down troublemaking, she's offering 50 gold for the destruction of the giant anthill east of Braniv. Giant ants have been attacking woodcutters, dragging some of them away. Great. I'm going to pop this into my Remove Line Breaks tool and paste it down here. And then what's cool about Notion, too, is you can copy things back and forth, or you can sort of hyperlink things. So we know there's a friend of Brico, and since I've already added one of those for her, I can pop it right there. And then I can click this and go to Brico stats. Pretty easy, right? So again, we're going to refer to the Quick Monster reference sheet. All right, I've put it up here so it's easier to follow along with. So since Brico is also a medium difficulty, I'm going to put her stats, 2 attacks, +3, 1d6 damage. Perfect. AC, teen, HP, 14, and it said that she has 2 axes. They're not going to have any saves, but this is definitely a humanoid who is tough, right? So we're going to say strength +3, con +1, and then dex, int, wisdom, charisma +0. There. And then we have a court ready to go. They're also a villain, and they're current. Great. You know, I'm kind of second-guessing myself here a little bit because when Wander in this game, there's only 3 ranges of difficulties. And in Shadowdark, I think I've seen the highest monster, official monster, go up to level 30. So I actually think that since Brico is level 3, we might need to make Court level 2, just to kind of have it make sense in the hierarchy a little bit more. So I'm going to head back up and restat them to be level 2. Level 2 with a little punch. So I'm going to keep the 2 hand axe attacks, but they're going to be 1d4 and only +2. Instead of saying 1 attack, but their HP and AC are going to both go down. 2, and this is, what did I say, 10. And that's going to have leather armor there. Cool, level 2. Great, we have another monster, NPC fleshed out. Next up, we're going to take care of Basil, a dwarf usually found in the Braniv small bar. He will offer himself as a guide to travelers entering the forest. He can identify many of Grimholt's plants and their effects. He uses a small magic mirror to communicate with Brico, but pretends to be fixing his hair. He will try to leave victims to the Elkstone to be ambushed and sacrificed by Brico and Cornet. Great. So... And he's easy, so I think that's pretty clearly going to be a level 1 character for us. That's going to be a little easier to stat out. So level 1. Four still seems kind of low for anyone that's like sort of a named PC. So I'm going to give them 7. That sounds fun. I'm going to say he's a club. And as a humanoid, I think Bandit's probably the best fit here. Charisma -1, and then Dex, Con, Wisdom +0. Great. Basil's ready to go. Specialty goods, that sort of treasure. And actually, I think there might be a section for treasure in here, so let's check it out. So when we start a new session, you usually click Generate Session Planning Template, and this actually plans that first session for you. And the first thing you do is review the characters. I'm actually going to make a few pre-generated characters and that they can use, and we'll put them in there. We'll go over scenes, secrets and clues, fantastic locations, the village already, NPCs, which we're already developing now, monsters, we'll get to that later. So treasure, and I'm adjusting these XP levels to be in line with Shadowdark, which gives people XP for treasure. So the rubber band, rubber ball is going to be a minor treasure. Rubber armor, going to be 2 XP +1 AC if worn. And then no slip rubber sandals are fun. And that's going to be 1 XP as well. Okay, next up in the PDF is the next fantastic location, which is the Ant Mound. So I'm going to take a screen grab of that and upload it into locations. There you go. And if we upload a location here, it's going to show as sort of the default image for that location. So I think that's pretty cool. I guess I could do the same with the city of Branov. Maybe I could just zoom in on this and grab a screen grab. Or the village of Branov, rather. And I'm just going to take the screen grab and plop it down there. Hey, I think that worked pretty well. Awesome. Yeah, that looks really nice. Okay, back to the Ant Mound. Ants are hostile to anything in the colony that does not smell like their pheromones. And then it goes over what is in each room, each section here. So I'm just going to start out by copying everything and, of course, pasting it all in. Got to remove those line breaks. Ooh, doesn't look as good, but we can add the necessary ones back in. Perfect. So let's review this. 8 worker ants chopping up forage plants in mulch to take 2 room 6. 2 winged ants arranging human bones into primitive sculptures of their queen. Whoops. 3 mutilated human bodies, an axe with a broken handle, 5 gold, a rubber ball. Surviving woodcutter covered in ant fluids and wearing an ant head as a helmet fights 2 worker ants. Worker ants regurgitate liquid into snapping mouths and wriggling larvae. A putrid fungal garden growing in fetid mulch fills the room. This is the ant's food source. Save against nausea or retch and vomit for 1d4 turns. That's funny. 2d4 worker ants tend the garden movement through the funguses at half speed. Then 2 winged ants and 2 worker ants guard a queen ant lying in eggs. So that's going to be sort of the boss battle there. We're going to need to come up with stats for all of these ants. The first thing I'm going to do is see if there happens to be stats for giant ants, because for all I know, there might be. I'm going to go to the Shadowdark Monster database, and I'm going to search ant. Doesn't look like it, so I'm going to go back to the Guide to Shadowdark Monsters here, and I think these are all going to be level 1 creatures, because there's going to be a lot of them, so they're going to kind of swarm. At least most of them will be. What I'm going to do is add them directly into the monster database. Oops, that's not what I want. New. Here we go. Ants, worker. Source, Holt of the Elk Lord is going to be my abbreviation there. Okay. Create. I'll skip the flavor text for now because I can come back to it later. So we know they're going to be level 1. So their AC is going to be 12. Their HP is going to be 4. Attack 1. Bite plus 1. 1d4. Movement. Near. And we know they're going to be insectoid. So let's see if there's an option for that. Giant, humanoid, monstrosity, ooze, plant, undead. What would be the best fit then? Beast, maybe? Dragon, elemental, fey, fiend, giant, humanoid, monstrosity. I guess it's going to be closest to a beast, sort of like a giant rat kind of thing. So, strength. Well, ants are really strong, so I can adjust some of these and say, since they can just like lift things up really well. Plus 3. Dex, plus 1 makes sense to me. Con. 1, intelligence, I'll take that down. Oh, and then charisma. They're going to be neutral. Level 1. Pheromone. This is an ability I'm coming up with right now. Communicate through scents that they excrete. Cool. I think that's a neat little ability that adds a little more flavor. Pheromones communicate through scents, which they excrete, which can be followed to find missing ants. Yeah, I could probably word that better, but I'm just kind of breezing through this right now. And then the next one that we have to come up with, wing dance, arranging human bones into primitive sculptures of their queen. So I think wing dance are essentially going to be the same as worker ants, except for they're going to be able to fly. I don't think we have to do anything more there. So that's good. Ants worker. And I'm just going to, can I duplicate that? Oh, open. There we go. And here, fly. They're going to be able to fly around. Great. I think that's pretty good right there. That's all we have to do to change those from flying to worker ants. 3 mutilated human bodies with an axe, broken handle, 5 gold, and a rubber ball. Cool. Nothing we have to create there. We probably know the axe is maybe going to be worth like 1 XP. Maybe the axe head could still be used. 5 gold's worth something, and the rubber ball we decide is worth something too. A surviving woodcutter covered in ant fluids and wearing an ant head as a helmet fights 2 worker ants. Let's come back to that in a minute, and we'll flesh out who that character is, because they're going to be an NPC. 1 D4 worker ants regurgitate liquid into the snapping mouths of wriggling larvae. I could make larvae essentially be level 0, but I think that there's going to be things to be killed. That is, if they want to be. And then maybe I'll make a random encounter there. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to make a random encounter there. So if there's going to be a random encounter that happens in this room, another one, some of those larvae are going to be born, and they're going to have to deal with a few more worker ants. So that'll be fun. I guess one thing, too, that I'm overlooking here, and I know I'm bouncing around a lot, because that's just kind of how my prep works sometimes, is that in Shadowdark, every sort of dungeon has its own level of dangerousness? Danger has its own danger level. So if we look at danger level, so unsafe, check every 3. Oh, that's for, that is for crawl. That's for resting. I want to see crawling danger level. Here we go. I think this is going to be unsafe, so we're going to check every 3 rounds for a random encounter. And of course, if we roll a 1, then a random encounter will happen. I think random encounters here will mostly just be more worker ants or whatever. We could always just come up with more random encounters on the fly if we wanted to. But I think there's a lot of good stuff here, and I think this random encounter works really well. So moving on, a putrid fungal garden growing in fecund? I actually don't know that word, so I'm going to look it up.
Fecund.
Producing or capable of producing an abundance of offspring or new growth. Fertile. All right. So, putrid fungal garden growing in fertile mulch fills the room. This is the ant's food source. Save against nausea or retch and vomit for 1d4 turns. DC 12, con. So we know that's what they're going to have to roll to save from barfing all over the place. 2d4 worker ants tend the garden, moving through the funguses at half speed. Great, that's pretty straightforward. 2 winged ants and 2 worker ants guard a queen ant laying eggs. So we're going to have to come up with a stat for that. She wears a crown of twigs and bones. The first person to put on this crown will learn the spell Ant Swarm. Sick. We're going to go back to NPCs, and I think this, since she's going to be with a bunch of guards too, she's probably going to be level 2. Especially because these are all going to be level 1 players. I guess it's not an NPC, is it? She's going to be more of a monster. Ant Flying, Ant Swarm. We're going to copy this one, duplicate, Ant Queen. She's going to be level 2. I do think she needs to be a little beefier than that, though. But these are... No, that'll be fine. She's going to have a bunch of people. They're going to need a bunch of attacks. So, AC is going to be the same as 12 there, except for HP is going to jump up to 10. I'm going to give her one more, just for good measure. Attack. 1 attack. It's going to be +2. And 1d6. That'll probably be a bite still, too. And I believe queen ants can fly. Sure. We'll say she can fly. And then I think the difference is, as a queen, she's going to have a little more intelligence. And then wisdom's going to go up a little bit as well. Otherwise, I think these stats are pretty solid. She's going to have pheromones still, which is great. And she's going to be able to use Ant Swarm. Target turns into a swarm of ants for 10 minutes. That is... Oh, pheromone friend. Who is this? Oh, I missed this part where it talks about worker ants are supposed to be easy, winged ants are supposed to be medium and can fly. I kind of think that I like the wing ants being essentially still level 1, and I did beef them up a little bit, so I'm not going to be too... I guess I just added flying to them, didn't I? Yeah, especially if they potentially pick up an NPC. I think I'm going to go back and edit this. So, I know I'm all over the place. You'll just have to excuse me. So I actually think these guys are going to be level 2. And that's going to be still 1 bite, and that's going to be 1d6. And AC 12, HP, I'll make it 8 to kind of split the difference there. And then we also know that medium can fly. Great, that was easy enough. Very easy change. And then going back to the queen, we're going to turn her into level 3. So AC is now going to be 13. HP, we'll stick with 14 there. 2 attacks, +3. She's going to be pretty scary. And then I think these scores all hold up as well. She can also cast Pheromone Friend, which is pretty beefy. Pheromone Friend, target turn, DC 14 con. So there's a decent, it's going to be hard to, it's like not easy to pass. And so there's definitely a chance that someone can, oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong thing. That's Ant Swarm. Target is disadvantaged when attacking caster for 1d6 turns. I'm still going to make this tough because I think that's super fun. It's kind of like an enchanting. Actually, it's kind of like a charm, so let's see what charm looks like in the rules. Here we go. So I like this. What is this for the vampire? That's 1d4 days. Wow. So I'm going to keep this as con because it's a physical thing that's happening to this person. And target disadvantage when attacking the caster. Make it really hard because otherwise, like, they can still attack. They're just going to have disadvantage. So I think it's okay if it's hard. All right, and then I just want to look at that the queen is wearing. They can cast Ant Swarm. So I'm going to see. I'm just going to put that under her abilities, I guess. Crown, Ant Swarm. It says here the spell effect DC should be 12. So, I'll change this one to 12, since that's coming from her own pheromones. And then the crown's still going to be 15, since it's a magic item. So I think it should be a little... And if we go into creating magic items, let's actually see if that makes sense. We're going to go to Center Game Master. Treasure? Magic item attributes. Here we go. Magic armor. This isn't armor. This isn't potion. Scrolls wands. So I think this is going to be kind of a tier 2 scrolling wand. So I'm going to just compare it with some tier 2 spells. So look at detect thoughts and see what the DC is there, if anything. Well, that one just happens. Yeah, I'm just going to make it DC 15 con. Why the hell not? It's going to be pretty cool. This is a one-shot. Why not give someone like something that's super cool? But that might be overpowered later. I'm going to bump this down to 13. 14. There we go. All right, so we've got this crown. The players might be able to take and use for themselves that turns the target into a swarm of ants for up to 10 minutes. And it's up to 10 minutes, so I'm going to change this to 1d 10 minutes. And that sort of hedges the bets there. It's not just like, boom, 10 minutes. But it could be 1 minute. It could be... And I'm actually going to change that from minutes to... And this is another part of converting this system to another system is rounds. Because everything is sort of tracked in rounds. And turns is also going to be turned into rounds. Because that's sort of more of the verbiage that Shadowdark uses. Great. Oh, there's one thing we have to do. And that is stat out this woodcutter. A surviving woodcutter covered in ant fluids and wearing an ant head as a helmet. Fights 2 worker ants. I'm just going to go to the Shadowdark character creation to discover who this person is. NPCs, and something that Mike Shea's Notion template has, which I really appreciate, is a dice roller. So I'm going to roll to come up with the NPC here. D12, D8, D6, and another D6. I'll just write this stuff here and then copy it over later. Goblin, middle-aged, lawful, and wealthy. And then we have the NPC qualities table. And we're going to roll that 3 times. I don't know why I had that sound effect for us. Oh, that must have been for the 1, an add fail sound effect. Well, I'm not too fussed by it. Beauty mark. Spits. And needlessly picks pockets. So maybe this person is, although they're lawful, they have some sort of a compulsion and they can't help. We will roll their name. We know they're a goblin. So I'm just going to roll a d20 here. 13, dent. Just going to take all that out of here and then go into NPCs. Dent. And as we see here, oh, we know they're a woodcutter. Oops. So this ant-head helmet, how's it going to help? If I just say it adds 1 to the AC, I think all the players are going to want to hollow out ant heads and make helmets for themselves. Which might be kind of fun, but also I feel like that's going to give them a lot of AC for like very little work. I feel like it's not as earned. So maybe I'll say this helmet gives advantage to avoid detection of ants due to covering wearer and ant pheromones. Cool. I think it's like a fun little flavor thing, and I think it's actually going to encourage the whole party to like put ant heads on their heads, which I think is going to be really fun. Great. So we have the woodcutter statted out. Excellent. And we are done with the Ant Mound, I believe. So I guess one thing I can do really quickly just to make my life easier down the road is I can go to where we have now the monsters and start Ant Queen and Flying and Worker. And I didn't even put anything for Larva, and I think that's fine because I don't think they're going to do much. They'll pop around or whatever. Great, so moving on to section 3, which is the Elkstone. I'm going to grab a screen grab of that, and I'm just going to put those numbers there, actually, so I can remember where they are. I think that might help me out a little bit. So 2, the Ant Mound, 3, Elkstone. Awesome, just drag that over there. Kill Elkstone or whatever. And copy this over without the line breaks. A large standing stone, surrounded by a stream with an unnaturally fast current flowing clockwise during the day, counterclockwise at night. Undead creatures cannot cross the stream. The grass in front of the stone is noticeably greener. Buried here are the heads of sacrifice victims. Killing something and burying its head here will reverse the killer's age by years equal to the level of the victim. The Elk Lord expects an annual sacrifice from the humans in exchange for tolerating their presence in Grimholt. Brico over-delivers on this required tribute to prolong her life. And remember, we can tag these here so that when we're playing, we can click on this thing real quick and just pop it up. There it is. We'll have to stat out the Elk Lord later, or I think maybe there already are stats. We'll get to that later. The pond. This pond is actually a deep cenote and home to Mention, an ancient, sentient, giant goldfish. Mention is worshipped as a god by the flower folk who bring weekly offerings of worms and seeds to the pond. Mention actually is a god, but can't remember anything before taking on goldfish form. Mention will eat anything offered to it and constantly compliments visitors, especially on their fashion choices. Zipek occasionally comes to visit Mention and is very protective of the fish. The first time a person drinks from the ice-cold pond, their defense increases by 1. The cenote connects to a massive underground river. Awesome. Fun location for sure. And of course, we're going to grab a screen grab and just click and drag that over. Can I just go like this? Oh, that's easier. Perfect. Since there are so many mentions here of these other characters, I think I'm actually going to go and add the members of the court as NPCs now, so that I don't have to deal with it later. And then I can tag them in these locations as well. So, members of the court, I'm going to go into NPCs, of course. A Barkfolk warrior and the chief of Grimholt's trees controls the movement and the growth of trees, not happy that Zipek allows human woodcutters in Grimholt. And they are a medium difficulty creature. So since they're a warrior, we have to find their stats. A Barkfolk warrior, I'm going to say that they are plant, powerful, kind of like a treant. So maybe I'll tone down these abilities a little bit. But they, I bet, are like level 3. I think that sounds good. So we're going to take the quick combat stats. And the reason why I'm not putting these in the monster database is because this is an NPC. And I guess there are NPCs like in the monster database. You know, like the big bads get statted out. You're going to see level 10 or level 15 or level 30 bad guys in there. But I don't think that someone at this level that you would encounter once and is not a reoccurring villain, and probably aren't a villain at all, are going to need to be in there. So I said this is level 3, so we're going to go with AC 13. Since they're Barkfolk, I'm going to put this a little bit higher at 14, even though that doesn't really kick into level 6. I think it's appropriate, but their HP is going to stay the same at 14 as well. 2 attacks plus 3, d6. We can decide what that attack is later. I think it's probably just like big branchy hands or something like that. They're not going to be as powerful as a treant, so I'm going to put that down to 3. Constitution, Intelligence, 2, Wisdom, I think it's +1 there. Maybe +2. And charisma, +0. Is this person deserving of any spells? They're chief of the Grimholt trees. I don't think they need any spells, and they weren't written with any spells in mind, or else I would have said it in here. So I think I'm happy with Thornleaf. Who's next? Queen Daisy. Excellent. Leader of the flower folk. Her people serve Zipek spies, and she's aware of almost everything that happens in the forest. She's easy. So if we go into her guide, if she's like a flower, I think she's going to be level 1. And flower folk will probably be level 0. So AC 12. Maybe since she's a queen, it'll be a little bit higher at 6, but still not much going on there. An attack +1, that's 1d4. And then we decided that she, of course, is plant. Just kind of a base 1. Dex -3. Constitution +1. Intelligence, I'm going to say that's +1 since she's a queen. Wisdom +2, again, because she's a queen, so I think she's a little beefier. And then charisma, I think, is actually going to be higher because I see her being very sort of chatty and having a royal essence about her that makes her charismatic. Does she have any abilities? No, not according to this description. So I think we're good there. And of course, label this as current. Then we have Finalizing, a badger who represents the interests of Grimhold's woodland creatures. Concerned about the animated rubber creatures that seem to be originating from the ruined fort, finds them insulting and is upset that no one else seems bothered. So essentially this is the badger, and so I think this is going to be another level 1 creature. But obviously this is a sentient badger. So AC 12. HP, again, we'll give them 6-2, since I think badgers seem pretty tough. That'll be claws, obviously, because they're a badger. 4. You know, I'm assuming the speed is all near, but for this one, I'm actually going to burrow so they can dig through the ground. I think that makes sense, just to remind myself that that's possible. So this is probably a beast, I would imagine. Yeah, beast. Strength is +2, well, +1. Dex +1. Constitution +1, I think that makes sense. Intelligence -2. Wisdom +1. And Charisma -2. All right, I think we have Fembout ready to go. Finally, Zip Tech the Elk Lord. The immortal ruler and protector of Grimholt, a tall, human-like figure with rough green skin, red, leaf-like hair, and large black antlers. Wearing a dark green cloak and bark armor, he can take the form of a large red elk. He views the creation of humans as a mistake of the first god and is annoyed by their presence. He knows and can teach these spells: Sprout, Barcomb, Spore Cloud, Forest Dew. If the Elkstone is destroyed, he will ascend to another plane of existence. He would destroy it himself, but doesn't want to leave fellow godling Mention, who is trapped in fish form. Oh, that's cute. So this is hard, so I think this person's going to be, like, intense. Let's see, what do we do for the woman who was hard earlier? I think level 5? Oh, Brico, she was just medium. What level do we put her at? 3? I think it was level 3. So I think I'm going to put Zepek at level 5. BC should be tough. Let's see here. A tall human-like figure with rough green skin, red leaf hair, and large antlers. So I think he's going to... Oh, I have an idea. Oh, yeah. So this will be fun. As they're exploring, I think that they're going to randomly see this large red elk occasionally. And I'll say he's wearing a crown. And that'll kind of like preview what's to come. Like, someone will see this out of the corner of their eye, and then he'll dash off and disappear. I was thinking of maybe I should put stats in his humanoid form in the elk form, but I don't think that's really necessary. And if it is, I can just do it on the fly. So, level 5, AC 13. Is it the base AC? He's wearing armor. I'm going to say that's actually 15, which is pretty beastly. No, 14. 15 is too much. 14, wearing armor. 2. for... Yeah, that's pretty beefy, and he knows he can teach these spells. All right, so maybe they could learn from him a little bit more too. But this is it's kind of like a humanoid slash beast. We'll just do, yeah, we'll give him the stats like a giant. I think that makes sense with higher wisdom and intelligence. But I think that's a good kind of base. And then of course the spells that he knows. Did I already create DCs for these? I'm pretty sure I did. Who else knew Sprout? Rico knew it. Barcombe. I definitely have not done that one yet. I guess we'll have to come up with what that one does, since it's not listed. Spore Cloud, Forest Dew. Just copy those two over, remove the line breaks. Creates a 20-foot cloud of spores. All who breathe it must save or cough for 1d4 turns. So, as a level 5, the effect save is supposed to be 15. Generally is 15. Sprout, I think, is a lower level spell for them, but I'm going to make it con DC 14. And this one's also going to be DC con 15 to avoid turning into coughing, causes all physical checks. Excellent. And then Force Dew, coach target layer Dew, disadvantage on all physical. Those are a little bit too similar for my liking, so I might have to change one of them. All right, creates all who breathe it must save or mind is clouded for 1d4 turns, causing disadvantage on all mental checks. And then Force Dew is going to be the same thing. Coach target and layer Dew, disadvantage on all physical actions for 2d4 turns until it's washed off. Cool, so I think those are like different enough. Yeah, that'll be good. And then Barcombe. What are we going to do for Barcombe? I'm going to change this. Instead of Barcombe, I'm going to call it Barktomb. And DC con 15. Roots and bark erupt from the ground to the target. And actually, this is going to be strength, not con. Encasing them in bark for 1d6 turns. Entombing. There we go. You know, I'm going to go back to the 2d4. I think that makes sense. 2d4. To keep it on par with Forest Dew, Barktomb. Excellent. What are the NPCs are in here that we need to talk about and put in here? Mention is one that we just mentioned, and I don't think Mention actually needs any stats. Well, we'll just stat them out. They're going to be level 1, even though they're godlike, but they're still trapped in fish form. And then since they're just a goldfish, strength -4, dex +2, I think seems reasonable. Constitution -3, intelligence -3, wisdom -4, right? Let me reread that again. You can't really remember anything from previous forms, so I think it's essentially a goldfish. And then charisma, we're gonna put it at 0. Fish can be slightly charismatic, even if they're not intelligent or whatever. All right, let's just move on to the Ruined Fort. So we're going to go into locations. The Ruined Fort. Dang it. And drag that over. 2 vine-covered towers and a partial wall are what remains of this ancient fort. A large drooping humanoid figure sculpted out of rubber stands in front of the towers. A large spear is stuck through its chest. This is a golem the wizard Melman is creating to kill Zephic. It stabbed itself with the spear during Melman's first attempt to animate and train it, so the project has been put on the back burner. Rubber birds, squirrels, and rabbits inhabit the area. moving and behaving like creatures, except that they don't eat or reproduce and are quite squeaky. That's fun. So as they get closer to that, they're going to maybe run into some animals made of rubber that will telegraph for the players that this location's coming. In one tower, the upper floors are destroyed, leaving a large open space. Rubber sculptures and clay molds of forest creatures and people litter the floor and sit on shelves and tables. A large cauldron filled with boiling latex sits over the fire. There's a 50% chance that Melman is here creating a sculpture. If not, they are in the other tower or collecting more rubber from trees nearby. In the other tower, the first floor is covered in papers with charcoal sketches of wildlife. The second floor has a bed of leaves and a few articles of clothing. A ladder leads to the roof, where a telescope overlooks the forest canopy. Great. And then we need to add Melman the Hermit in here. He's a wizard and a hermit. So, NPCs, once again. Melmoon, Hermit. And I'm going to add the wizard there too. A wild-eyed, well, I'll take wizard out. And add current. A wild-eyed wizard in jersey robes with a rubber bird glued to their shoulder. They are hellbent on killing Zepek and using his antlers in hermetic rituals and experiments. Melmoon can easily repair any rubber equipment and give wildly inaccurate astrological readings. They can animate rubber sculptures and will trade small animated rubber creatures for favors. They'll pay 50 gold for the secret ingredient of the Flower Folks rubber recipe. This magically superior recipe would create a more stable and powerful golem. All right, that's good to know. The only issue here is they don't have any stats, and I love statting things out, so I'm going to create some stats for this person. I think since they're a wizard, I'm going to look to the NPCs chart to kind of steal something from there. Let's go into the monster database, and I'm going to be looking for something that's probably like level 3. Since they're medium, I want to sort level filter 3. And let's find a sort of magical thing here. Yes. We're going to take the Kobold Sorcerer and kind of reskin it. Duplicate. Open. It's a rubber wizard, and this is going to be there. Flavor text is going to be linked to the hermit because it's all there. A CHP look good. Rubber club or 1 spell plus 2. They're going to be a little better than Kobold would be. Neutral level. Dodge sounds good. Scorpion sting. Charisma spell DC 11. Okay. I'm going to turn this into latex allergy, and I think this is going to be a dex. Oh, it's still. It's a charisma spell? Are these all? Is this wizard or charisma? I guess whatever. It can be charisma caster. That's fine. DC 11, near range, 1 target, 1d6 damage, and target has disadvantage on next attack roll or check. I think that's great. So they're going to cover them in magical latex, magical rubber, or whatever, and this person's going to have an allergy to it. A spider swarm appears within near, stays 1d4 rounds. Since we know that Melman has created these creatures out of rubber, what's it called them here? I'm going to say summon rubber creatures sounds better. One D4 rubber woodland creatures. And follow sorcerer's commands. Great. And there we have it. We just reskinned a whole new stat block. So I'm going to go into Melman, and let's put Rubber Wizard. Perfect. Anything else we need to know here? Great. On to the Zepek's throne room. The petrified trunk of a giant Andaluvian bloodwood is the throne room of the Elk Lord. 2 Bark Knights, medium, guard the entrance. 2 more flank the throne. Zepek is here 50% of the time. Representatives of various Grimhold species make up the Elk Lord's court. Humans are not represented. Zepek considers them a plague on nature and only tolerates humans in the forest because of ancient pacts he's bound to honor as long as they pay tribute through a yearly sacrifice. Zepek will share arcane knowledge to someone who can ensure the humans of Braniv break the pact. And so this is like very anti-human, and I think that he'll probably just be anti-humanoid, unless maybe there's some sort of reason for him not to be. But I think it'll be pretty anti-humanoid. Okay, and these NPCs that we already statted out are members of the court, so they're all going to be present for that. Do we do stats for warriors, bark knights? Not quite yet. And how can we forget? We need to get a little image of this. There we go. Plop it there. Excellent. And then, last but not least, the Flowerfolk Village. Small pink mushroom houses grow in a clearing and release clouds of spores that give the air a golden foggy quality that makes it hard to see far. Colorful flowers grow everywhere. The peaceful flower folk tend to the vegetable gardens, perform ceremonial dances, and chat with forest creatures. Using Mention's pond water in their secret recipe, they create very strong rubber band slingshots. They will offer food and bed to travelers. Breathing in their spore-filled air all night will cause tiny leaves and flowers to sprout in one's hair the next day and give them a coughing fit for one turn anytime they fail a strength roll. Effects fade after a day. If attacked, the flower folk will run into the forest and hide. They are very good at blending into the foliage. They can fight if necessary. Okay, cool. Mechanically, that's what I'm going to have. Coughing fits do. Disadvantage on next physical attack. Mushroom Abbey. The central mushroom hut has a large single room with a tree trunk altar in the middle. On the altar is a large golden fish scale carved with magic symbols. Every sunset, the flowerfolk gather around it to pray and chant. If this scale is returned to Mention, the fish will transform into a golden scaled humanoid and regain its memory. They do not know this, neither does Zepek. Okay, interesting. So this is something they can bring Mention back to life if they'd like, or back into his god form or whatever. Flowerfolk are about 3 feet tall, with green skin, short limbs, and large flower petals around their faces. When still, they can easily blend in with large flowers and the plants of Grimholt. They often serve as spies for Zepek. Flower statted as easy and know the spell Sprout. I'm going to put that in our little monster manual that we have. Here we are. And these are going to be level 0 creatures, essentially. AC 11, HP 1, attack 1, sure, Vine Whip, +1. Movement, near, and they are definitely a plant. 1, -3, 1. I'm going to say their intelligence is only -2, wisdom -3, charisma. And I think these are a little bit charming, so I'm going to put 0. I don't think people are afraid of these or whatever. Neutral, of course. Level 1. These are level 0. And what is that spell they know? Sprout. I just copied from Rico's stats. Put it in here. Hundreds of small plants sprout from target skin and dig roots into the ground, rendering the target immobile for 1d4 turns, or until a successful strength roll. 1d4 damage per turn. Great. But I think that it might be a little bit lower since they are levels. Make that 9. Cool. And there we have our flower folk. We're making some real progress. And if we go back into locations, Flowerfolk Village. Flowerfolk. Perfect. All right, now we just have to flesh out the random encounters. So, where would I put the random encounters? I think that would probably be in the session notes template, but I'm going to have to stat out all of these guys before we put them in there, I think. So, we'll start with the NPCs. Bark Knights aren't an NPC. They don't have a name. I'll start with Posmork the Bandit Shrew. And this person, I'm just going to use the bandit. I'm just going to use the bandit stat block. Level 1, perfect. Well, I guess here it says medium, but should I beef this up a little bit? I think I need to do that. So I'm just going to look up the stats for the bandit. I just duplicate this. Open. We're going to be level, we'll give the AC there. Let's crank up the HP to, say, 8, and the rest of the stats there. We're going to just change the flavor text. Enjoys ambushing humans. Steal their clothing used in fashion shows. For mention, if we're good there. They just have like a woodland creature stat block. Yeah, I think I heard Kelsey talk about this before, and that she didn't stat out common creatures or whatever. So like I think even something like bat probably isn't in there. Yeah, giant bats are, but you're not gonna see dog. I think maybe you're probably gonna see mastiff. You'll see a wolf, hellhound, werewolf, wolf. So I think for these foxes, I'll just stat them out here quickly. Fox, or any number of small creatures living in the forest. And these are all going to be easy, and they're all going to be essentially level 1. But they're going to have lower AC. So actually that's going to be 11, 4, bonus to their attack, movement, near, neutral, level 1. Great. So I can just use this for any of the woodland creatures. And then what I'm going to do on top of this is, since we know there are woodland creatures that are rubber, in this case rubber mongrels, I will just copy that to make the mongrels. These are all going to be the same, except for they're going to have a higher AC of 13 because they're made of rubber, and bounce, I'll call it bounce back. I'm going to say bludgeoning attacks. DC 12 dex, or 1d4 damage. Bludgeoning attacks causes weapon to bounce back at attacker. Even though there aren't different types of attack damage in Shadowdark, I think it's easy enough for the dungeon master to say, hey, you hit them with a club, or you smacked them with something that wasn't pointed or that wasn't sharp, so that thing's going to come back and hit you because that thing's made of rubber. So I think that's kind of a fun little flavor there that can do a little bit of damage as well. Makes things a little bit more dangerous. Let's see what they have for knights over here. So knights are generally level 3, which would put them, roughly at medium. So I think that we're just going to use the knight stat block. And duplicate it. Knight bark, or is made from tree bark. Wooden sword. And I'm going to keep it, I think that's 2 slices with the sword. AC is pretty high. I'm just going to nudge it down a little bit. Okay, I think that's cool. Advantage on a roll made in service of a nice knight's order. Great. Then we have the bark knights. We get the mongrels, we have the flower folk, grim trolls. Small, wild, tusked, pig-like humanoids with blue skin. Rumored to be enchanted children lost in the forest years ago. Let's see if there are any... Boar? Level 3. We'll start with the boar, and we can maybe make him level 2. I think that seems a little more appropriate. Grim Trolls. So they're going to be level 2. That should put them more in +2 in 1 attack. And 1d6 is appropriate there. Near. This all looks good. And I don't think they have to have a special ability here. Since they're only level 2. There we go. Control. I'll just go into Woodland Creature once again. And I'll duplicate this. Woodland Creature, Giant. Since these are medium, it's going to go up to level 2. And that's what we'll use for the giant porcupines. Sandia, the Bird Bard. Sing a song about a dwarf who got lost in the forest. Sandia will pester travelers for stories and songs. Let's see, is there a stat for bards? I think there might be. No, there's not. Bummer. We'll create a person. That's kind of fun. There it is. Let's make her level 3. She's going to be humanoid. It's going to be agile. Dex is +4. Strength, con, intelligence, wisdom. Zero. I gotta say that charisma is +2 because she's a bard, of course. And what kind of bard spells are we gonna give them? Why don't we just open up the bard supplement and we'll see what we can find in there that makes sense. Here we are. What can we get from the bard here? And charisma checked to enact one of the following effects. If you fail, you can use this effect until you successfully long rest. Okay, I'm just going to add those to their abilities. Why not? Great. So I'm going to change this to 2 attacks since neither one of those really have any transfix. Obviously, that's great, but it doesn't really do any damage. So I'm going to keep that at 2 attacks or 1 spell, and I think we're done with Sandia, Lugwold, the giant earthworm, looking for prey to pull under the soil to decompose. Smell strongly of rot. That one I am going to just sort of make a monster out of. And I think that since they're hard, we're going to put them at level 5. So, level 5. Kind of annoying that this also picks up like level 15 monsters and things like that, but I guess that's just how it goes. So, what would be kind of similar? Oh, a snake? Yeah. We'll turn this giant snake into a sandworm by duplicating it and then opening it. Giant earthworm. Here we go. So this stuff we'll just keep. So it won't really bite, but it'll slam. And one constrict. Great. Climb. Burrow. We'll get rid of the climb because I think this is more of a burrowing thing. Those all look good. Level 5. Constrict. Great. So we have the giant earthworm. Done. Since they are an NPC too, we'll just add them to the NPCs. Since I assume they're sentient, and the reason why I assume they're sentient is because they wouldn't really have a name otherwise. Right? I don't know, maybe. Maybe they would. Earthworm, giant, unicorn. I know this is a NPC. Are they also hard? Yeah. The Silver Unicorn. Excellent. Now, is this going to be appropriate? Yeah, level 4. That's hard. Flower spread her presence. She can heal any wound or remove any curse with the touch of her horn. She can smell evil and detest it. Oh, wow. So that's pretty much the same. This is so funny. This is just like, it's the same interpretation of the unicorn. Probably that's just standard or something. Overgrown ship. Don't need to do anything for that. Statue, don't need to do anything for that. Abandoned wagon, don't need to do anything for that. So I'm just going to put all of these random encounters in my... I'm going to add them under fantastic locations. I'm just going to create a new... Unless there's one already for this. Is there? Is there random encounters? No. Random encounters. This is going to be a numbered list. Next, I need to generate some pre-gen characters so I can hand these out to the players, since this is going to be just a one-shot. Reading it all, there's a lot to cram in here, but I think since Shadowdark is so fast, we'll be able to do that pretty quickly. So in order to do that, I'm going to use Shadow Darklings, and I'm going to create characters. Bardringer and Kobolds. I'm just going to kind of keep this to the core classes with... I don't even like kobolds that much as a character, but I'll keep with the Pardon Ranger, and if there's any kobolds, I guess we can just run with it or whatever. They're going to be level 1, best fit, and we'll just go with generate random character. So I swear there's a way to generate a few of these on a card, but maybe I am straight tripping. Am I straight tripping? Probably. Snitnat. That's fun. All right, then we're going to create a random character. Morkis Vamp, the human fighter. Then we've got Ogkrag, the half-orc fighter. Then we're going to go with Remev, the elf priest. Priest with the 7th strength. That's fun. We already have 2 fighters. We already have a wizard, a bard, of course. Snig, Snig, Shrig. Let's change this one to a dwarf. There we go. Support this one. Then we're going to create another random character, a thief. Oh yeah, that'll be fun. Thieves are a blast, right? I do want to have some options where I'll be playing with 6 players, so I think it's okay. Why so many goblins? Elf Ranger, that'll be fun. Moral, that sounds like an elf name. And let's see what else we generate here. Why not do another priest? I don't even need another priest. Why not do another wizard? All right, we'll do another wizard. Maybe one more. Dwarf priest, why not? When it comes to the characters, I'm just going to pull all of those up. There's plenty to choose from. And I'm just going to kind of put them... I'm just going to put them all here. I don't think I need to go too detailed into preparing for each of these characters since this is one shot, and I'll just sort of do that on the fly. I'll print those out and have them ready for people as we're getting ready to play. So anything else that I have to do in session 1, in the session notes template to get ready? Characters, I have those. Strong starts. I think my strong start is going to be in the Ant... I think my strong start is just going to be in, let's see, an isolated village. I think we're going to skip this village entirely. You know, I think my natural instinct is to say, oh yeah, you're all in a tavern there. But I think that what we're going to say is they've already met Brico, and Brico has given them the task of going and clearing out the anthill for 50 gold. So they've all come to Grimhold. He says, you know, go clear out the anthill, come back, I'll give you 50 gold, and I'll help you however I can, right? So we're going to just start them right at the Ant Mound. So, characters. Mound. Having been met Brico in the village and being told she'd have gold. Since there are going to be 6 players, 1, 2, 3, 6 players, I'm going to say it's 60 gold, so we're going to have 10. Being told she'd have 60 gold for them and would help them with their own reasons for being I also like to, the strong start is going to be the first thing that we do as part of the game, but I also like to make a little list of, you know, what we're going to do first. So for especially since one of these people is going to be a first timer, which is my brother, and another guy is only playing for the second time. He's only played once online with me. So he might have to get reminded of things. So we're going to start with safety tools. And then we'll move on to picking characters. And that will involve rolling for reasons to be at Grimhold. And then we will jump right into the strong start. Am I missing anything? Safety tools, picking characters, and there's rolls in the game. Cool. So, strong start. So scenes is going to be the Ant Mound first. And then they're probably going to go back to the city, or to the village rather. Village Branov. And then they might, so Korit is in cahoots with Brico. Meet we're going to say Korit can't be found, but Brico has their gold and sends them with Basil into the forest. Explore or whatever. We'll go with to whichever hook players want to explore first. And then after that, it's just based on where they're going to go. So obviously, a wizard offers a fortune for a pound of gold caviar produced by the goldfish living in the forest underground river. Okay, that, you know, they would probably look for the goldfish in that case. Caravan master, that's going to be the missing abandoned wagon, right? Botanist. Autarch desires one of the following flowers, room to grow. Speaking flowers, so they're going to go to the flower village, perhaps. Astrological phenomenon, they're going to go to the wizard, who also is an astrologist. They're going to be looking for the unicorn. No one will look for you here, and it's better than the gallows. So this person's on the run from something. So they might just be down to go with whatever. Secrets and clues. I don't think we really need any of those things. They're already like written into the adventure to see themselves, so we don't need to handle those. Locations, we're good there. I'll keep the secrets and clues here just in case. Just in case there's something that I feel like I need to add midway through the game or something. And random encounters, we have that all done and ready to go. We've got a bunch of NPCs here, so that'll be fun. And then monsters. Oh, of course, monsters. I kind of have them linked everywhere else. I don't know if I have to link them again here, but that'll be good. Treasure. There's some other treasure, like Bastard Sword. Spoiled wine, that kind of thing. And then, of course, there's a scratch pad down here, and then the session notes. So I think we're done with this. It's taken a bit longer than I expected, but I'm really happy with the results, and I think we're going to be ready to play. I think it's going to be a great thing to do to ring in the new year as we're playing this on December 30th. So I'll let you know how it goes. If you enjoyed this video, I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel and also hit like to the video. If you want to know what else is going on with Night Noon Games, you can subscribe to our newsletter. There's a link for that down below. You can also find links there to check out my itch page where you can get access to games, and follow me on Instagram. Of course, I'd love to know what you thought of this video, so please leave a comment below as well. Otherwise, until our next adventure, keep those dice rolling, and thanks for watching. Happy New Year!